A Crucifix-party Brexit transactions will not get via Parliament except it is object to a crisp social voice, dark Brexit Secretariat Sir Keir Starmer says. Negotiations among Labour and ministers above outgoing the EU include bin departure on for a monthly in slight mark of advance. Environmental Secretariat Michael Gove offered Labour necessary more than period to go to regulation in the concept of a transactions. The UK was due to keep the EU on March 29, but the last date was spurred behind to October 31 following MPs discarded Theresa May's offered transactions 3 times. Negotiations among the government and Labour designed at conclusion a way out of the deadlock will restart soon in blood pressure increasing on both of sides to show advance or drag of. Number 10 told Down there was a precise wish to get on in the trial. Requested if down there was a last date, a representative told allows see wherever we get to the night. If down there is no treaty, Theresa May has told she will back to Parliament and ask MPs to voice once again on a band of probable options. Parliament unsuccessful to bring together over a way striker in a episode of indicating votes in March, but the PM says the government would now be produced to take everything commands a most if Labour does so too much. Sir Keir told he would not be frightened to end the negotiations as quickly as the 1 week if PM did not shift on her as-called red channel, official position how she feels cannot be modified in the Brexit transactions. He offered a plebiscite on the definitive transactions had be a red link of its own for lot Labour MPs, proverb a considerable quantity, perhaps 120 if not 150, would not behind a transactions if it hasn't got a confirming voice. Labour's set out politics is how it supports a future plebiscite on Brexit by specific occasion. It has discarded the concept of campaign for one in any occasion, but will consumer demand a social voice if it cannot get changes to the government's transactions or in poll. Labour's Stephen Kinnock, who backs the UK outgoing but keeping the nearest probable economical links in the EU, told it would be a actual embarrassment if the negotiations were torpedoed by his side's persistence on else plebiscite. If you try to paste a other plebiscite in these negotiations they win t get via since the Conservative Party will not stick their MPs to supporting it, he said Wireless 4's Planet at A. Yet, Labour's vice lead Tom Watson told else social voice was the just path of the present deadlock. Requested if Labour requested to keep or stay in the EU, he said Wireless 4's present, we are a stay and reformation side, but while it comes to a transactions human beings can shape their own type. In a speaking after labelling the 25th anniversary date of ex-Labour lead John Blacksmith's die, Mr. Watson will represent on Mr. Blacksmith's pro-Europeanism and say he would include supported a human beings' voice. Requested if a last date should be set for the negotiations, Mr. Gove told the government necessary period to correctly know and investigate Labour's stance. The fact is these negotiations include been true, but really hard. No one party requested to drag the pin up the regional elections 10 days or so back. But currently, as period goes on, it may so be we are achieving the time wherever they include to cast up their hands and tell, we fair can't do it. Jeremy Corbyn and Theresa May are both on lone tightropes hard to get through the some party of the sluggish moving meltdown. I believe they would both love it to be above in, perhaps in a Crucifix-party transactions. But the main secretary doesn't wish to put a enormous trade-off on the spreadsheet, she doesn't wish else plebiscite. Jeremy Corbyn doesn't wish to assist out the government except he can get true changes. If no one of them sense they can vary shift, so, the negotiations are not departure to be capable to prosper, and the government will later include to try to go on to votes in Parliament, the following portion of the trial. June 2017, Labour's general poll manifest accepts plebiscite outcome September, Labour agrees if a general poll cannot be reached it must supporting all options consisting a social voice November 28. Dark Chancellor John McDonnell says Labour will necessarily behind a other plebiscite if incapable to safe general poll January 16, 2019, 71 Labour MPs say they supporting a social voice February 6, Mr. Corbyn writes a email to Mrs. May allocating 5 changes in no refer of a human being's voice. February 28, Labour says it will behind a social voice following its offered Brexit transactions is discarded. March 27, the side backs a confirming social voice in Parliament's indicating votes on a way striker for Brexit. April 30, side agrees to consumer demand a social voice if it cannot get changes to the by the government's transactions or in poll, as it decides formulation to EU poll manifest.